The TOZ-35 is a competition pistol. The competition it was designed for is called 50-meter pistol, but it is also known as free pistol. Free because there is almost no design restriction on the gun. More on the free pistol competition in a future video. TOZ is the acronym for Tulski Oruzhenie Zavod, meaning Tula Gun Factory or Tula Arsenal, an industrial complex founded by Emperor Peter the Great in 1712. The designer of the TOZ-35 pistol was Efim Kaidurov, a renowned sports shooter, coach and gun designer. The design dates back to 1959, with the first prototype named Baumanets KH-1MT in preparation for the 1960 Olympics, where the Soviet athletes won the gold and the silver in the 50-meter pistol event. After 1963, the TOZ-35 pistol started to be produced in bigger quantities and sold to the Eastern Bloc shooting clubs, but after a while it got its way into the Western world as well. In total, the production was about 60,555 units until 1995, when the production stopped. Until around 1980, the original pattern of TOZ-35, like this one, was fabricated. After 1980, the new TOZ-35M pattern was introduced. M comes from modernized. The new pattern had small changes related to firing reliability, but most of the internal parts are the same. It can be recognized by the extended trigger guard, the ring at the middle of the barrel, and the front side clamping ring. Although from the outside the TOZ looks like a copy of the Hammerly 100 pistol, one of the first purpose-built free pistols, the resemblance is mostly at the exterior. It is true that it uses the same type of action, but the interior is quite different. Especially the trigger system is an invention of Kaidurov, and it is clear improvement over the Hammerly model. The cartridge used in the free pistol event, and so the caliber of the TOZ-35, is a 22 long rifle. It is a single-shot pistol, meaning that after each shot, the next cartridge must be loaded manually into the chamber. The action is called Martini, and it is of the falling block type. In this type of action, the bolt does not slide backwards and forwards, but pivots up and down around the pin. You can see sliding it up and down around the pin around here. The bolt is actuated by a lever underneath the grip. This has to be pushed forward in order to open the bolt and expose the chamber. By pushing the lever forward, the extractor ejector is also activated, and also cocks the striker/firing pin. After the cartridge is inserted, the lever has to be pulled back to lock the action. The trigger is of the set trigger type, meaning it has actually two triggers. The first one is this pedal here, that has to be pushed down with some force to set the main trigger. Like this. And only then you can actually fire the gun by very gently squeezing the main trigger. The trigger is very light, around 20 or 30 grams. The trigger is adjustable by 4 screws. The first one is this one small here that controls the trigger weight. It can be adjusted from 10 to 75 grams. The second screw, this one here above the trigger, and by loosening it, the position of the trigger assembly can be modified front to back and rotated left to right. The third one is here on the trigger blade, and by loosening it, the position of the trigger blade can be modified up or down. And the fourth one is here behind the trigger, is controlling the sear engagement. The TOZ-35 is built completely out of steel. Only the grip is massive wood. It is intended to envelop the hand completely in order to offer maximum support for the shooter. The grip is lacquered from the factory and it looks really nice, but it's not very comfortable. It is intended to be carved by each shooter individually to fit his own hand. The previous owner of this pistol tried to carve the wood a little around the trigger finger area, and the finish is ruined in this part. The total length of the gun is 42 centimeters and the barrel length is 30 centimeters. The total weight is around 1,300 grams and something, meaning 2 pounds and 14 ounces for the Americans. The rear sight is adjustable in both windage and elevation by these knobs. Also, the front post focus, damn it. The front post is removable by that screw there, and the rear side blade is also removable by those 2 screws. And there are other parts, other posts and blades in the spare part. This is the spare part kit box. It contains 4 rear side blades, a few front side posts of different widths, 2 sear springs, 1 firing pin and its spring. This pistol was probably produced in the second half of the 1970s, but it cannot be determined exactly when from the serial number. It was exported to East Germany, where it was maybe shot a little and then put into storage for a long time, judging by the stale smell of the case interior. All TOZ-35s come with this wooden box that contains spare parts box, and this one is a spare part box, an oil bottle, these assembly tools like this screwdriver that has 2 ends, another small screwdriver, 2 pin punches, 1 small and 1 large, 5 cleaning brushes, a patch jag, and a cleaning rod in the lid. The cleaning procedure is very easy, no taking apart the gun. Just open the action and then the barrel is in line through this rear of the grip hole, and then you just push the rod through that hole, through this channel in the bolt. It goes directly into the barrel and you can clean it like that, no problem, no need to open the gun or anything else. Just use this nifty hole in the back of the grip. Like I said, this pistol was probably unused in Germany for a long time until it was reproofed this year in July 2020. You can see the mark here. That's the symbol of the proofing house of Sul, July 2020. Then it's chip over N, the mandatory proof mark, and then the caliber 22LR. On the chamber are the original markings. This one is the Tula factory logo, the model number, TOZ-35 with Cyrillic letters, then the made in USSR phrase, the serial number, and the proof house mark of Klimovsk. There is also an inspector mark on the wood. That's the personal inspector's mark. The precision of the TOZ-35 is legendary. Numerous models were won with it in the 50-meter pistol event, including the gold medal at the 1988 Seoul Olympics by Sorin Babi. It is still used in the present day, mostly by former Eastern Bloc countries' athletes. But it was replaced in the highest levels by the Morini CM84E, especially because, since it is no longer produced, spare parts for the TOZ are becoming quite rare. But for the beginning sports shooter, the TOZ-35 is the perfect initiation pistol. Since 22LR is a rimfire cartridge, allowing the firing pin to drop without a case in the chamber is not advised. The pin would hit the bevel of the chamber and deform it. So a dummy cartridge like this one has to be used. But the TOZ-35, being a competition pistol, is designed to be dry-fired without problems. Just cock the set trigger and then press the main trigger. The feel of the trigger is exactly the same as in live fire. This allows training with the TOZ to continue even outside the firing range. After the last shot has been fired, the last case needs to be ejected. As we saw in the process of ejection, the main spring of the firing pin is also cocked. It is not advised to leave the pistol in this armed status with the main spring compressed for a long time because it can damage the spring. You can check the main spring status with the help of the lever under the grip. If it's floppy, like it's now, that means that the main spring is under tension and must be released. Release the main spring tension, cock the set trigger, and then with the left hand bring the bolt to the middle of the chamber. Keep it steady there and fire the trigger. The lever has to jump to the rear and stay there. You can see now it's no longer floppy, it's under tension and wants to stay to the rear. To keep the bolt at the middle of the chamber, like this. Too low and the spring will not release, too high and the firing pin will hit the chamber bevel. Lock the lever to the rear and now the gun is ready for stowage.